Hey y'all, peace and great day. Victoria I. Phoenix here, your leading ACE escape strategist, social trauma escape strategist. And ACE stands for adverse childhood experiences. That's childhood trauma that an individual experiences between the ages of 0 and 18 years of age. They're very common. They impact people throughout their lifespan, not just in childhood, but all throughout their lifespan, showing up in physical health issues, mental health issues, social issues or relationships, finances, all types of things. And usually that impact is negative. Unless, of course, you have people like me. I'm the founder of the company Trauma Training University, where we're helping communities become more trauma triumphant. And part of what I do is like the series that I'm continuing tonight. We're continuing with part 11 of part 11 of this special series called ACES at Play. I use that terminology a lot in a lot of my books. I got a new book out. I'll talk to you about it later. A lot of my trainings and courses on adverse childhood experiences. When I do seminars or come on here and teach, I use the phrase ACES at play, which means like if you were playing cards, there's an ace at play. There's an adverse childhood experience that's impacting the way you're doing a certain thing, even though you may be 43 years old. You may be 19 and it happened when you were 3, or you might be 34, right? So this series, ACES at Play, is helping you to better understand traumatized personality types, people that you know and you think they're flawed, you think they're bad people. And like I said, it might be the person that you know very intimately, like the person that's sitting in your chair right now, watching this video through your device, which is you. All right. So in our mission and our goal to help communities become more trauma triumphant, right? I have written courses. I've written books. Like I said, the second book that I wrote on ACES is a particular ACE, which is poverty. I just released it a couple weeks ago. Haven't done a lot of marketing for it. I'm going to go on a sort of a tour soon, but I'll talk to y'all about that later. You definitely need to get a copy. I did some videos on it, some little snippets this week. Matter of fact, I did one today. So inbox me or put it in the comments when you watch live tonight, or watch this playback right here and say, hey, listen, Victoria, send me the link, or go on my page and find the link for you to get my newest book, Playing the Ace of Diamonds, Wisdom for Exposing and Escaping Systems of Generational Poverty. Systems of generational poverty, right? So tonight we're on part 11 of ACES at Play. These are different traumatized personality types. People you see, you might know them up close and personal, really close. Like I said, very intimately, like the person that's in your chair right now, which is you, and you didn't know that you had this going on. You thought you were just flawed, or, something was wrong with you, or people did. Or you might know this person, maybe not that intimately. Maybe it's not you, but you might know this person in your family, or you're in a relationship with them, a romantic relationship or a friendship, or an ex-romantic relationship. It may be your ex-husband or wife, and the reason why they're your ex-husband or wife is because of this personality type, or your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, co-worker, enemy, childhood friend, somebody you went to college with. You recognize this. So again, just to recap why I did this series starting months ago, and I've been on and off because I'm in ministry as well. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So sometimes God shifts me, and like I said, I haven't done an ACES at Play probably in maybe over a month, right? So this is part 11, and some of them had 2 or 3 parts to it. So I've probably done about maybe 8 or 9 personality types, even President Trump, right? So tonight, let me go back and recap why I'm doing this. First of all, in general, I told you anytime I get on here, anytime during the week, I'm on here live probably. During the week, I'm probably on here at least 20 or 30 times, right? It might be a word of the Lord because I am a minister, right? I am a prophetess, evangelist, and teacher, right? Or it might be me just coming on here as your ACE and social trauma escape strategist, talking to you about how to overcome an ACE, or how to know that there's an ACE at play here. You didn't know it, but this is what's going on, and this is how you deal with it. And sometimes I come on here as a mixture of both because you really can't separate them. I know for a fact the only true way you're going to overcome or triumph over trauma is through the power of God. That's the only way, when you know that you are made in his image and after his likeness, in Imago Dei, because even though you might have had some crazy, crucial, detrimental stuff that came through your bloodline, which a lot of us did, okay, and then in your community around you to even compound the problem, right? racism, sexism, poverty, all that kind of stuff, and then stuff came through your bloodline from your ancestors. All of that is so many odds against you. But guess what? When you find your new identity in Christ, okay, you can rise above all that, because that's how you're created. You're a God. You're not human, really, if you tap into that part of you. No, Roman, no. All right, and so part in general, anytime I get on here talking about adverse childhood experiences or ACEs at play or playing your ACEs, my seventh book, this is the ninth book, my seventh book, which was the first book I wrote about ACEs, is called Play Your ACE Before It Plays You: How to Use Social Trauma for Empowerment Rather Than Imprisonment, right? So in general, I just talk about how to recognize that there are ACEs at play in your life, which I didn't use that terminology then. I just recently started to use that maybe in the last year. But how to take the power out of trauma and actually use it to empower you and fuel you rather than to break you down, tear you down, right? And so anytime that book, any lives I've gone all over the world, military bases, school systems, social service organizations, churches and faith-based organizations. I've been a lot of places sharing this message. As a matter of fact, I was a couple places this week, just invited to a couple places this week to talk about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and how to play those ACEs, how to be trauma triumphant, which is the terminology I use at my company. Not just, the industry uses trauma informed and trauma responsive, because a lot of people for decades did not know that, that trauma was a real thing, that ACEs were real. And then when I started going to travel, people were like, where has this been all of our lives? This kind of stuff's been going on for decades, for centuries, right? So I'm glad to be a part of the body of work. But the industry, most people talk about helping people become trauma informed. Well, they know what ACEs are. They know what that trauma is real. It's a mental health thing. It's a social issue, that kind of thing. And then they want you to take that information and become trauma responsive. Start dealing with people in the light that you know that trauma is real and ACEs are there and that kind of thing. And so I did that for a couple of years, but now God just gave me a revelation. And then last year, I switched my mission from helping communities become more trauma informed and trauma responsive. I put those all together, and my mission is to help. Our mission at Trauma Training University is to help communities become more trauma triumphant, which includes trauma informed and trauma responsive. But we want to be trauma informed and trauma responsive in a way that causes us to win, to play these ACEs and win the game, right? And so that's, in general, that's when you see me on here, that's what it's about, being trauma triumphant, okay? But this series called ACEs at Play, where we're helping you better understand these trauma-impacted personality types, right? These people that you think are flawed, but it's not what's wrong with them. The phraseology we use is what happened to you, okay? When you're talking about helping people be trauma triumphant, or you become trauma informed and better trauma responsive, you don't ask people necessarily what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you that you ended up behaving this way. You've been conditioned this way by childhood traumas or by things that went on. And as I say, what we don't deal with will deal with us. And so you haven't dealt with it. It's dealing with you, showing up 30, 40, 50 years later, 10, 25 years later in your relationships, in your physical health, in your mental health. And statistics and research proves all that, but also I talk to you from experience, from my own personal experience, what I've seen in my family, what I saw as a classroom, a high school teacher in one of the poorest cities and schools in the nation, what I've done traveling, what I've done in ministry, seeing in ministry. It looks like I got something on my cheek. All right, but so this series, ACEs at Play, where we're looking at different personality types. We've looked at we've looked at the type of personality type that is President Trump's type. We've looked at a person who would abort a baby, male or female. We've looked at the headstrong independent, which was my flawed personality type before I came into my identity in Christ, and now I don't own that anymore, and it doesn't own me. But tonight we're going to look at, and I'm not going to be on here long. I always say that, but I got to stick to that tonight. Tonight, part 11 of ACEs at Play, okay? Helping you better understand traumatized personality types, okay? Tonight we're looking at the paranoid pessimist. The paranoid pessimist. Y'all know pessimism is when you see the bad in everything. Optimism is you see the good in everything. Like you always have a positive outlook. You think things are going to work out. You can find the good, right? Pessimism is the opposite of that. When you're a pessimist, you look for all the bad, as I like to say, or I use this phrase. This is the phrase that I coined that says either you find a way to win or you're finding a way to lose. There's no in between. Everybody's either finding a way to win or finding a way to lose. So the pessimist is finding a way to lose. They're telling you every reason it's not going to work. They want to tell you everything that's wrong on the news, in their lives, in their neighbors' lives, their coworkers' lives. So the pessimist is always thinking things are horrible. People are against them. Things are against them. Things are going to work out for the worst. That's the pessimist, right? But the paranoid, so this is different from when I did the personality type, the trauma impacted personality type of the born loser, right? And I used for an example, President Trump's niece, Mary L. Trump. I read a book by her, autobiography about her and how, basically President Trump and his father, which was her grandfather, pretty much indirectly murdered or killed her daddy because they considered him weak and all kind of stuff like whatever. And for a while, I was like, it was confirming what I thought what I had picked up spiritually just by studying, not super studying, but just what I could pick up from hearing and seeing things. And I read one book by President Trump years ago called Think Big. And what I could pick up when I had my ACES glasses on, what I picked up spiritually about the ACES that were at play in his life. So this lady's book, Mary L. Trump, Mary Linda Trump, his niece, as I was reading the book, I'm like, man, I knew it all along. This is confirming everything that it was, it's a high powered family. Unless you achieve high and do this, and this, then you're not accepted. And it's true. President Trump is on that quest to please his father, even no matter what. But and that we talked about his personality type. When you're wounded and you don't have the love you need from the people you need it from most, your parents, you do any and everything. So that was like the second personality type I explored in here and uncovered for you all. The dope dealer, the dope pusher, the pimp, the player, the whore, and President Trump. All those are the same type of personality type, right? You're looking for something to validate and prove to certain people that you're worth something, because the main people who you needed to validate you, your parents, did not for some reason or another, right? So I'm not going to go back into that, but that's an example. So when I read Mary L. Trump's book, saw it at the library one day and just was intrigued by it, because I'm intrigued by rich and wealthy people. I just to read about their lifestyles and stuff, right? And I also wanted to hear what she had to say, because the title of the book is Who Could Ever Love You, right? And the picture on the front says it all. But after so far into the book, I realized, I said, man, no, this is, yes, what I thought about President Trump is true and all that kind of stuff, and his family and his daddy. I said, but this girl here is she's the personality type of a born loser. You find a way to lose because you feel like, yes, people do you wrong and everything in there, like it seems like they were against the brother and that kind of stuff. But sometimes you got it. Well, all the time you need to get over that and realize that if you don't, you're just going to be a crap magnet, right? So the crap magnet, the born loser, that's different from tonight, okay? Because the paranoid pessimist, that person is a pessimist. They always believe things are going to work out wrong for them and people are out to get them and that kind of stuff. But the paranoid pessimist is this. Paranoid, you overdo it. This type of person, the example I'm going to use tonight is one of the examples is Mike Tyson's mom, the boxer, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson. He's now in movies and stuff. His mom was a paranoid pessimist. Okay, a pessimist, you believe everything's going to go wrong and it's always something out to get you and your life is bad and that kind of stuff. But when you're a paranoid pessimist, because you've seen so much bad, you go over far above and beyond to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. And it's to an unhealthy measure that you do this, right? And so the paranoid pessimist, they're the person that has seen something or felt something, been traumatized growing up. And in order to say, hey, that'll never happen to me again, or that'll never happen to my kids, that'll never happen to me in a relationship. You saw, mother and daddy fight, or dad abused mom abused dad, whatever. You lived in very, very severe poverty. You or somebody in your family had children out of wedlock, or the children the daughters had babies earlier, or you had a teenage pregnancy or whatever, and you're like, that's never gonna happen to my daughter. So I'm gonna make sure, and you overdo it. Sometimes you do it to the point that you abuse her, you abuse him, because you forcefully want to make sure that what happened to you didn't happen to them, instead of doing it the right way and cultivating and with a healthy discipline and healthy relationships. You force it because you're so paranoid, you're so freaked out and so traumatized by what happened to you. You want to make sure that it doesn't happen to your children. You want to make sure that it doesn't happen to you in another relationship. So these people a lot of times sabotage relationships. They are super mean, angry, closed in, closed off. They won't open up. In my book, Play Your Ace Before It Plays You, I have a quote. It says, "Don't let all the raw deals in your past cause you to miss out on the real deal in your present and your future." Okay, they say you've been dealt the raw deal, which means, you started out with a bad hand, bad life, or whatever stuff was dealt to you. You inherited it, right? So my quote is this: don't let all the raw deals in your past cause you to miss out on the real deal in your future, in your present and your future. Because people, you sometimes, somebody's been dating losers their whole life, and then they like, oh man, that's the real deal right there. Or not even if they've been dating losers, but you bring somebody around your family, or they go around somebody's family, and the family knows, the coworkers know, oh, that's the real deal right there. You need to keep him, you need to keep her. Oh, that's the real deal. Or, you get something, a new car, new whatever. Oh, that's the real deal right there, right? So my quote is this: don't let all the raw deals in your past cause you to miss out on the real deal in your present and your future. So some people, the paranoid pessimist, you've been screwed over so much by men or women, and you saw it, and that happened as a result of a trauma. You saw it so much in childhood that you attracted that, or you learned to deal with it. But now you're like, hey, I don't want what happened to my mom to happen to me. I don't want to have a baby at whatever as a teenager. I don't want to be a single parent. I don't want to be abused. I don't want to be in a relationship for 20, 30 years and never have a commitment. I don't want to. And so you become paranoid, so much so that you do things in an unhealthy manner. You become excessive and obsessive. Excessive and obsessive, where it's unhealthy. Yes, it's good and it's wise to learn from your mistakes and help correct yourself and make sure you set things differently up for your children and coach them differently. But when it becomes excessive and obsessive, many times it'll turn the child the opposite way. When you were trying to keep them from, you actually drive it to them, because you put so much pressure. You apply so much pressure, unhealthy pressure, right? And so the paranoid pessimist is this: you become excessive and obsessive with making sure that what bad happened to you, what bad you saw as a child, does not happen again, either in your future generations, your children, your grandchildren, or even in your new relationships, your new, you got taken advantage of at a job. So now you go to a new job, you hate everybody, you close everybody out, you disrespect the boss, you want to show and prove that you can handle your own, and it's just unhealthy. And you attract the wrong type of energy because you put it out there. You call for it because you are paranoid that I'm going to get it taken advantage of. This is going to happen again. And so Mike Tyson's mom, if you ever watched not the documentary, Hulu produced a dramatization of like a maybe 7 or 8 part series about Mike Tyson. I think it was called Tyson, either Mike or Tyson. One of them was on HBO, and that one was called Mike, and the other one was called Tyson. But I think it was Tyson, the Hulu series that I watched a couple years ago, and I've done some courses on ACES based on that. I've done some trainings. I presented at conferences based on some things I picked up from the story of Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson's mom, if you ever, I don't know if it was in any of the other dramatizations that they created, the one from HBO or any documentaries, but the one I watched on Hulu, which was a good show, a good dramatization. It was a little like 7 part series, whatever. They showed how Mike Tyson's mom, she was abused. They were very poor. She was abused. She was a single mother. They lived in very severe poverty, right? Really, really bad poverty in whatever city, New York or wherever it was, right? And she because of their deep poverty, and that's why y'all need to get this book, because of the mindset of poverty, thinking you can't do any better, she was in very severe abusive relationships, right? If you watch the series about Mike Tyson, I think it's called Tyson, on Hulu, okay? Really, I liked it, right? But it's not a documentary. It's actually a dramatization, right? So, if I'm saying that right. But it showed that she, like I said, they were very poor. She was a single mother. She was struggling very bad to try to do whatever, and it still didn't work out. And because of that, she was in very abusive relationships. Okay. And so she also worked at a prison. She worked at a prison, and she said, so Mike said, he was narrating the film, and he said she saw so many young black men in prison when she worked there, or in the jail or whatever. She was determined. She came home and told me I was not going to end up in there, that her kids were not going to end up in there. And because he was troubled because of some other stuff, of course, he was doing things that probably average teenage kids, but probably even more, not a little more than average teenage kid boys, because of poverty and because of some of the traumas and stuff, not having a daddy and seeing his mom abused and that kind of stuff. So Mike Tyson was acting out, and his mother, because she was like, I see men in prison every day, I'm gonna make sure you don't end up in prison. She would come home, she would beat it out of him. Yes, he needed to get punished for the things he was doing, but she became, remember I told you, the paranoid pessimist becomes obsessive and excessive. It's so you need to discipline your kids. You need to help direct them so they don't make the same mistakes you made. But when you are so paranoid, like I know the shame that it caused me when I had a baby as a teenager, had a baby out of wedlock when this happened. So I've gotten over that. My daughter's not going to do that to me. My son's not going to do that to me. Or I know what it was like to grow up in abject poverty. So I'm going to make sure. And so you excess and you become excessive and obsessive to the point where you try to do anything to make sure it doesn't happen. So you become almost a maniac. So it showed on there. She said, Mike said she would beat me so much that it was something he said, but he said he got so used to the beatings or something, some kind of little cliche or something he said, but it was basically that she was excessive and obsessive when it came to beating him. And he said, because she said, I'm gonna make sure you don't end up in prison. So she became psyched out by going to work every day, seeing all these black men in prison. So when she came home, she took out her frustration, her paranoia that I don't want my kids to end up here. She took it out. So Mike needed to be disciplined, but she took it too far. And guess what? You have people like that. People, especially excuse me, people who make it to affluence, people or they think they succeeded. It's like, I'm gonna make sure my kids don't end up, like such and such kids, because we got a name to uphold. And they become excessive and obsessive. And sometimes, like I said, what they're trying to keep their kids from, what they're trying to keep themselves from, they end up pushing to that point because they're doing it the wrong way. Okay. You've seen this. Let me give you another personality type. So that was Mike Tyson's mom, and how she actually traumatized him more than he was. But he was already traumatized by growing up in in the hood, right? Fatherless, very poor. But then she was beating him excessively and obsessively to keep him. She thought she was keeping him out of prison, but guess what? He ended up in prison very young. Okay, and part of it is because she was beating him without proper correction, not talking to him the right way, not providing the extra support that he needed. Yes, it's okay to correct your children. I was just reading a book today called Toxic Parents that talks about, every now and then parents flip out, not every now and then, but sometimes parents scream or yell or do something, whatever, but a child can take that as long as they have the support and the love that they need in spite of that. If you're loving and good most of the time, every now and then, your kids will cause you to lose it. But first of all, it can't be too regular, but also when it does, and I teach this all the time in my trainings, that when you have the presence of a caring adult, there's a way to buffer that. When a child gets talked too harshly somewhere outside of the home or in home, when mom or dad loses it for a minute, right? But Mike Tyson, mom, she became a paranoid pessimist. She was like, pessimist. I've seen too much bad stuff. I see these men in prison every day where I go to work. I see it all around me when I come home, and I'm gonna make sure my kids don't end up there. So she beat him so much, and he was like, I had to get away, or you know what I'm saying? So that pushed him even further into the streets, right? So that's an example. But then let's look at another end of it, where you have kids who grow up. I've seen this so close. Listen, I've seen that one too, because of course I don't know Mike Tyson's mom. We know the story from afar, but I've seen people who beat their kids or discipline their kids or shelter their kids so much. And a lot of times it happens with PKs, preachers' kids. Okay, I don't want them to shame me, and a lot of times it's because the preacher is covering up stuff they've done, right? Or don't. And I've seen it. I used to be best friends with this girl, but I'm not gonna get into that. And so I've seen that up close and personal too. Not just, from Mike Tyson's mom, which is what we watch from TV, but I've seen it people. But let me tell you, I've seen this one too right here on the other end of things, where the kid comes from a good family. They come from they've been well taken care of, no abuse, no excuse me, have everything set up for them, good life, no abuse, no poverty, everything's there. They might be rich or wealthy, or they might just be, comfortable, right? And because of that, the child, for some reason or another, sometimes they may feel too privileged, or, feel either society or whatever is on the inside of them. I don't want to seem like I'm the silver spoon kid. I don't want to seem like, I'm too privileged. I don't want people to think I'm this or that corny, or think I'm not tough because I had everything made for me. And so you have kids that become paranoid pessimists. They try too hard to seem like they're hard. I see this every day. This guy right here grew up with everything made for him. Both of his parents doctors, and this guy is just want to be, the savior of the black community, and everything's black, when all that kind of stuff is really, in a really good sense, outdated, especially if you know who you are in Christ and know that that's just a distraction from the enemy. But let me not get too far off into that gospel of Christ right now. But listen, but you see this. So the paranoid pessimist, on the good side of things, you had a life so good, and so now you got to prove to everybody that you tough, that you hard, that you came from, and this person did not at all. So they spend a lot of time trying to be macho. Sometimes they're abusive to the opposite sex. They want to be macho. They join organizations or go to work and want to act like they're so tough, and that when they came from the suburbs, had everything given to them, but they're a paranoid pessimist. They feel like, oh, my life is going, and that's really dumb. Like I said, if you had a good life, thank God for it, and use that place of privilege to I said this thing before, that hungry people don't vote. All right. A lot of times when people come up with these big ideas, I'm not saying that they're not alternative, or they're not anomalies, people who stand out. But many times the reason why education and us having an environment in our homes, our schools, our churches that are conducive for kids to really learn and think is because when you have an environment that's conducive for you to learn and think, you usually learn and think, and you thrive, and you come up with some of these big time guys, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. I've read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, where it talks about how many hours of time these kids put in. Their parents paid for them to go to coding camp. Their parents paid for them to be around certain people. So if you've been privileged enough to have things made for you, use that privilege to say, hey, listen, I had the opportunity to have peace in my home, and have peace at my school, and be able to go and travel and that kind of stuff, so that I can think and create some greater opportunities. Because guess what? A lot of times, this is why, what I talk about in this book, the devil is so set on keeping people poor, because poverty locks you down in so many ways. When you're busy thinking that you just have to survive, and that's what you spend all your time, energy, and money doing, surviving, you're not going to have time to come up with the cure for anything. You're not going to have time to hear from God and let him breathe whatever gift or gadget or idea or solution that he wants to breathe through you, because your mind, your time, energy, and money, your mental capacity is focused on surviving, right? So if you were the person who didn't have to do that because your mom and dad had some decent jobs, they had that, or whoever took care of you, don't try to overdo it and try to act like you so hard and had it so tough. I've seen this, family members, classmates. Like I said, there's somebody right now trying to be a big community leader, born with 2 silver spoons in their mouth. Both parents are doctors, but they spend so much time trying to act like they're hard. And it's good, because one thing that I did admire, somebody asked me one time, matter of fact, it was the first time President Trump was running, and they were like, well, what do you think? What's the difference? How you feel about JFK versus Trump? JFK and the Kennedys were public servants, okay? There's a difference between, all politicians aren't public servants. Because they were wealthy, it didn't remove them from actually thinking about the common person, the common man, right? And going to bat for them, right? Some politicians are about their own agenda and their own agenda only, right? Public servants are saying, hey, listen, and most presidents, well, really, I think all of them, all presidents, which makes sense. Presidents, major leaders and stuff, either come from wealth, or they've gotten to a place where they've been able to achieve it. That says a lot about their capacity and their character, guys, right? Even some people do stuff shady or whatever, but you want a leader, whether it's your church leader, your pastor, whoever, who has accomplished something, who has something, because you can only go as far as your ceiling, right? So the person over you, I'm not going to get into that. I've been teaching about that lately. Go back and on my page and look at some of that Restored Apostolic Order things, right? Series. But the paranoid pessimist a lot of times will sabotage their opportunities and try to mask and masquerade that they come from such a tough background. When they have the opportunity, they have the connections to really bridge the gap for some people who don't have resources, but they'll act like they don't have it, and they I made my own way, and I pull myself up my bootstraps and make enemies with their father, the person who's giving the inheritance, and I got to make my own way. That's dumb. When you have resources and you can help people but guess what? Thank you, Holy Spirit. The fact that they can forfeit and put all that on the table and throw it all away to prove themselves goes to show how privileged they are. Okay, a person who has really gone through something, if they get the opportunity to come by something, I was about to say the right way, but right or wrong way, and that's why the devil uses poverty so much, because when people grow up with nothing and they really, really struggle, any opportunity to have something, they jump at the bait. And a lot of times that's exactly what it is, bait. It's a sellout to the devil. And I've talked about celebrities. I can talk about people that are not celebrities, just everyday common people who the devil set it up for you to live in abject, absolute, total, devastating, painful poverty. And it's a bait. All it is, so that when you get a chance to sell dope, or you get a chance to run scams, or you get a chance to sell out, and you're a brown person, but a peach person wants to put you on the team so you can deceive other brown people, you're going to do it because the devil sets it up where people grow up in painful poverty, like struggling, embarrassment, all types of just shameful stuff. Have them live that life for so long, then give them a taste. And he really does. He's really been doing a good job through social media, through fake book and Insta scam. Give you a taste of it. Have you see people, have you go around people, have you experience something, a little bit of the good life, and then you got a little bit of the good life, and then you have decades of the horrible, pissy, poor life. And I mean pissy, poor, like peed in the bed type stuff. When I told y'all about how Viola Davis, she gave the literal meaning to me of piss, when people say people are piss poor, right? Because she talked about how she grew up in Rhode Island and they were so poor. Many times they wouldn't have electricity, they wouldn't have heat, and they would have rodents so bad running around in the house. She said in winter, or when it might not even have to be winter. I think Rhode Island may be pretty cold a lot of the time, right? She said it would be so cold, they would not have heat, they would not have whatever. They would all be sleeping together. And one reason she didn't want to get up and go to the bathroom is because rodents were running all around. You didn't know what would get you or where you would be or whatever. They were running all around everywhere. And then the second reason, she said it was better to just go ahead and pee in the bed, because the warmth of that pee would actually keep you warm when you were freezing cold, because y'all didn't, my God. That's the literal meaning of piss poor. A lot of times we use it. We use little cliches and stuff we don't even know. But that was the definition of piss poor to me. Like, I'm like, wow. I wrote that in the notes in the book when I was reading it. Right, her autobiography, Finding Me. What was I saying? So the devil sets it up. It's his aim. That's why y'all gotta get this book. Get this and inbox me. Look on my page, inbox me, put it in the comments right here. Say, please, Victoria, send me the link. You can get it from Amazon, but I prefer you get it from me. But either way, you have an incentive is to get it from Amazon. That's fine as well. But of course, I want to give it to you for a greater, at a lower investment, right? And I want to also sign it and pray over it individually when I get your information, when you click the link and make the investment, right? But the devil works so hard to keep people in poverty. A lot of other things he works to keep, but he'll make it. He wants children. I've been talking about this education thing, these schools, we got to do better. He wants children to live in devastating poverty, painful, embarrassing, sickening poverty. I'm not just talking about sickening like, oh man, that just hurts my heart. I mean, people are literally physically sick because of living in poverty, being around a bunch of stuff, not having what they need, stress, not being able to eat, not having, heat and air, having, things that carry disease all around them, pests and that kind of stuff. The devil wants to put as many people in painful, devastating, embarrassing poverty, so that he can put it in their face on social media that, hey, you can have this, you can do that, just do this, just pay this, just do this, just that, and have people literally selling their soul to the devil just for a taste of the good life, and then try to and put it there as a bait, and then say, hey, follow me, keep doing this, until he has you way out there on a limb and he pushes you over the cliff and destroy you. Remember, the devil wants to steal, kill, and destroy. Okay? Remember, he's the master of deception, distraction, disguise, division, and ultimately destruction. Right? And I know I'm getting into preaching and teaching a little bit here, but listen, or teaching. It still has to do with ACEs. It still has to do with trauma. Poverty is one of those big traumas. And so, going back to the paranoid pessimist, you have a person who may have opportunities that can, listen, this is one of the most profound things I've heard people say. They said that the best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them. And a lot of people think that's insensitive. And the best thing you can do for poor people, one of the best things you can do for poor people, the first best thing is to not be one of them. Because you can't help people if you're in the same boat with them, right? You remember that? If you're trying to think outside the box or get outside the box, the instructions are outside the box. So somebody got to get out the box, right? I've taught about that before. But the paranoid pessimist, trying to please people, they have this they've been traumatized, that they grew up too privileged. And so they want to, and that's one of the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, that I added to the body of work. It's in my book, Play Your Ace Before It Plays You. A lot of people, there were ACEs named. The common ones that people know: being physically abused, sexually abused, being neglected, having somebody in the family or the household using drugs, or being in prison, growing up with a divorce or separation, or absent from, or a parent being absent. Those things we've heard of. Even later on came poverty, that kind of thing. But I added to the body of work that there's an ACE, an adverse childhood experience, called the silver spoon syndrome. When you have it so good in your life that it actually creates trauma, because when real life happens, oh man, you're devastated. You don't believe that life is real. You don't believe that, challenges happen to everybody, and that yes, you're supposed to overcome them, but sometimes it's going to take more than daddy just stroking a check or daddy making a phone call. You have to learn how to build on the inside of yourself, perseverance and tenacity and that kind of stuff. And so the silver spoon syndrome has a lot of people. That's why the economy gets bad, disasters happen to kids, overdose on pills or heroin. They jump out the building when the stock market crash, right? The silver spoon syndrome. When people like me, a lot of people, we grew up, it's like, oh man, it's just another day in the hood, right? It's just another day. I've been used to that. I've overcome that. So I can overcome anything type attitude, right? But the paranoid pessimist a lot of times will blow their opportunities to try to prove that they're not privileged. Ooh, I just said that. That was very concise. The paranoid, and I use the alliteration with the P's. The paranoid pessimist a lot of times will blow their opportunities to prove that they're not privileged. So I went on one end of the spectrum and on the total opposite end. One, you grow up so bad, seeing so many things, you're gonna make sure that it doesn't happen to you or your family again. So you apply too much force, and to the point where the pressure does burst the pipe, right? You try to apply so much pressure that you form a diamond, but you end up bursting the pipe, because y'all know that pressure creates diamonds. The heat and the pressure on that coal, that COAL, creates a diamond, right? But you also heard the cliche that pressure bursts pipes, right? So you become so obsessive with, I'm gonna make sure this never happens to me again. I'm gonna make sure I never get taken advantage of like this. When I was a child, people let me down. Somebody abused me. I was at a job and they overlooked me and they did that. As a teenager, I had a child. I'm gonna make sure my child doesn't. And so you, instead of healthy correction and training and coaching, you become obsessive and excessive, and you actually apply too much pressure until you burst the pipe, until you drive somebody to unhealthy behaviors. And then on the other side of that, you have a person who grew up with everything, grew up with good privilege, and because they're paranoid that people are going to think that they haven't made their own way, and that they want to forfeit things and try and do dumb stuff. I've seen this. College, I went to Spelman, so you had a lot of rich kids I'm like, I had a roommate one time. The school put me with this roommate, and all her friends were the same. They were like 5th and 6th year juniors, and I'm like, if you just like school, why don't you get a master's degree? But they were so. You know, they thought they were so smart for their own good, but and they always could come up with these philosophy and stuff, but they were so stupid. Nah, bro, that's just, you know, smoking weed. Some of them actually were snorting cocaine. They would party all the time. They were just very disrespectful, dishonorable, would use people. They had plenty of money, but they didn't respect anything. They didn't honor anything. They were not honoring their parents, whatever. And some of them, they would say little things about their parents. It was because of, you know, bad relationship with the parents trying to just pay for love and that kind of thing. But these kids are trying to prove to daddy, prove to mommy, prove to the world something. And so they went so hard in trying to prove themselves. Like I said, some of them, even though, like I said, they came from good families, but a lot of them were snorting cocaine, smoking weed very heavily, partying all the time. And like I said, I had got assigned to be roommates with one, and all her friends were just like she was. But the paranoid pessimist, like I said, you can have it so bad or so good that now you like, I gotta prove the point, and you apply too much pressure instead of creating a diamond out of a coal. You use the kind of pressure that bursts pipes, right? And so again, the reason that I'm talking about this series, because you may know that person. I know a person specifically. This person, I'm praying for this person. I know this person intimately, right? This person grew up in like I said, in painful, embarrassing poverty. Single parent home, was wounded several times by the mother because she was chasing men, not doing what she's supposed to do. And then the father was an alcoholic, came from a broken home. He was traumatized. Everybody got ACEs at play. This person had a baby in high school, right? And in recent conversations, like, and I knew it, but it just came out of conversation. So why did you do it? So been married several times, got married very young because they're trying to prove to the parents that, hey, I'm still gonna make it. I know you're disappointed in me because I took the same path you took, and I really just gotta prove. So this person became a paranoid pessimist. This is what happens to paranoid pessimists, okay? A lot of times they sell their soul to the devil trying to prove that it'll never be me. That'll never happen to me. I'm never going to be like my mom. I'm never going to live in poverty. And this person recently told me I had to get out and leave because I didn't want to be, this person was trying to throw off on, you know, other people and family. Like, I didn't want to be, you know, unmarried with a bunch of kids and poor and that kind of stuff. And guess what? This person achieved, got married, but has been married several times, getting married for the wrong reasons, not settled within themselves. But you're a paranoid pessimist. I'm going to do anything and everything. I'm going to apply pressure so much that I become obsessive and excessive. So it's not, I want to build a family and represent God and break cycles. No, I just want to prove that I'm not going to be what y'all said I was going to be, or what my mama was, or that kind of thing. And so this person, you know, so I can, like I said, sometimes some people think I'm talking about literally. I'm talking about figuratively here. Well, it's indirectly. I'm not saying this person like going to seances and trying to join organizations to sell their soul to the devil. But figuratively, they sold their soul to the devil. They went all out and try to prove, I'm gonna get the highest degree. I'm gonna make the highest ranking. I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna make sure I have the big house. And even when my family is downsizing and people are walking out of my life, I'm gonna buy the even bigger house, the even bigger cars, and I'm gonna obsess over them, and I'm gonna do all this kind of stuff to make sure that I don't end up like the small town stereotype that I'm from. And guess what? All that, and you sabotage your life, because that's an ACE at play. You saw so much pain growing up that you become obsessed with avoiding that pain, so much so that you end up actually pushing yourself and others you love to that pain. I'm telling y'all, guys, this is real stuff. God has blessed me to be able to see this stuff, to be able to pick it up. I thank God, not just to be, you know, to work in the body of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, but I'm also, he has given me the prophetic to look into it as well. They might not want to talk to you about it. You can share the video, or some people will, right? So the second reason I'm doing these series is so that you know how to deal with people who have this ACE at play. They have this personality type. They're a paranoid pessimist. They go too hard on their children because they want to make sure their children don't end up like this. And guess what? That pressure actually pushes the child closer to the edge, right? Or they push themselves too far, or they sabotage everything trying to prove that I'm gonna get this done, right? They're pessimists. They think that things, hey, listen, if I don't just push the pedal to the floor at all times, even though everybody's being slung out of the car and I'm swerving and I'm losing control, that things are gonna just end up bad. The paranoid pessimist, okay? I said I was going to get out of here on time. I guess I got to be somewhere like in about 5 minutes. But listen, get a copy of this book. This is my most recent book, book number 9. It's called Playing the Ace of Diamonds. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experience. Playing the Ace of Diamonds. Wisdom for uncovering, exposing, and escaping systems of generational poverty. Okay? Poverty is a mindset. It's not a financial state. It does show up in your financial state, but poverty is a mindset, right? Just like wealth is. So, in the devil, I talked to y'all tonight. A lot of times, paranoid pessimists, one of the greatest things that they're trying to avoid is poverty, because the devil sets it up so many people experience painful, embarrassing, health-threatening, mental and physical health-threatening poverty. Poverty has so many strongholds tied to it. So the devil works to make sure that anybody trying to deliver you out of poverty, you talk against them. Oh, they just want your money. Anything that helps you get out of poverty, educating yourself, giving. The devil wants to keep you away from that, because he knows that if he can keep enough people in deep poverty like that, the poverty that's painful, they get any chance. That's why, like I said, what hurt me so bad, how crack cocaine, other drugs had so many people thinking that this was a legit business. I'm a businessman. I'm taking care of my people, and they really destroying the community. But when the devil can get you to taste poverty at a painful level and then give you a little taste of the good life, he knows so many people that are willing to do anything, sell their soul to the devil, literally and figuratively. Okay, work, grind, and hustle till their health is gone, their mental health is gone, they're paranoid, they get things, and then the things have them. They don't want people to sit this way in their car, they don't want people to do that, they don't want to drive nobody in, they don't want nobody to visit, they just want to have it all just to say they made it, right? Or, you working all the hours and doing everything until, you have pastors and preachers that even say you got to watch the devil. You can be a televangelist, you can be in high demand, and you need to keep your wife with you, or you need to be. There are some preachers and pastors like, I got to get home every night, because they know how the devil works. And these are people that are super anointed, powerful, but God has given wisdom to say, hey, listen, you can sell your soul to the devil trying to do God's work. Now, listen to what I just said. You can sell your soul to the devil by trying to do God's work. Burn yourself out. And it's like, oh man, you're so tired. Let me just take a little pill to take the edge off. Or let me, you pastor, you're a leader. Now you need a little wine. Or, there's people hanging around your hotel, and the temptation is there. So you want to entertain another woman, another man, because you burn out. You haven't seen your family in weeks. You this and this. I'm telling you, the paranoid pessimist, I got to make it happen, because I can't end up like people said I was going to be. Everybody told me I was going to be nothing. And so you push too hard until you actually push yourself over the edge. Listen, I love y'all. God loves you more. This was a good session. This is part number 11, where we talked about the paranoid pessimist. This is a trauma-impacted personality type. You know somebody like this, okay? Now, I use examples that were like celebrities, but I also use some examples of people that I know, some randomly, and then some people that I knew this person by name and face that I was telling you about. Some of them is just like I've kind of seen, but this is powerful. Y'all share this with somebody. Talk about it. If it's you, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me, to inbox me. And I'm telling y'all, this book about escaping poverty, very powerful. It's an easy read. Put it in the comments. Hey, Victoria, send me the link. I got a link in several places on my page, on my feed. Okay, get your copy. Get copies for the people you feed and lead. Do a book study with your family, with your friends. Do a book study. This is very powerful stuff, guys. The devil, one of his biggest tools is poverty, because he knows how much stuff is connected to poverty. Okay, I love y'all. God loves you more. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for watching the playback. Thank you for sharing this with somebody. This is gonna change somebody's life. ACES. When you play ACES, you can win the game. You can play ACES. You can take the power from adverse childhood experiences and not let them take power from you. All right. Peace, y'all. I'll see y'all soon. And I made my goal tonight. I got out here like in less than an hour, y'all. Listen, but I kind of felt I was gonna do it tonight. All right. Part 11 of ACES at Play. That's what we just did tonight. The paranoid pessimist. All right. Peace. I'll see y'all soon.